This is enabled by default on every controller. This is not something that requires purchase. So any controller can always use an emergency stop. To set this up in Vibration View, if we move to the software, I need to go to Configuration, Remote Inputs. Here I have my auxiliary inputs on the left-hand side and auxiliary outputs on the right-hand side. Just a quick review of the options. If I hit the drop-down, the digital inputs are emergency stop, program start, program stop, the resume and advanced level and save data files. You have program BCD, which is a binary control device that can be used for remote test selection. We'll demonstrate that. Then you have some analog options, armature current, voltage, field current, field voltage, and then user analog. For the outputs, these are again digital outputs, but you have programmable outputs, which we will demonstrate on setting those up per schedule level. Test running, test aborted, sweep, for up, down, and hold for sign tests, and then some others, which we will touch on as we move forward. So the first one is emergency stop. My emergency stop, again, is always able to be used, and it's on the 8th input. So if I select emergency stop, I can click apply. Now this is one that will occasionally get confusing or can be one of those gotchas when running a test. So the first thing, if I start a test, I have my emergency stop button connected to the back of my controller. If I start my test, I can simply push the emergency stop button and emergency stop. You can see that my stop code says emergency stop. This is incredibly important because now I know why my test has stopped. This also applies if I double click to clear everything out here and hit start. My test won't start because my emergency stop button is still pressed. And this is where that gotcha comes into play. There are times where if I've hit the emergency stop or if I use the emergency stop as part of my shutdown, I may have forgotten to actually release this. So now when I hit the start button, my test in fact can come up because I do not have my emergency stop button pressed. This is a software shutdown. We don't typically recommend doing a hard stop where you actually separate the output relay. That can cause transients, and transients being sent to an amplifier creates some other issues. But once you have this connected, you can simply hit the emergency stop button and the test will stop. The circuitry is in the PowerPoint and in the slides. If you would like to purchase one of these from us, it is available pre-assembled for purchase, but you can also just make it yourself. So that is the emergency stop. Go back to my remote input configuration. Turn this back to disabled. So we're back to where we started.